welcome back to my channel. Now, I will be reading from the book collection volume 2, and in it there are a bunch of short stories and scenes as well. So, I'm going to dive further into this book, and I will read you some of the short stories this evening. Soulmate. Her eyes met his, and at that moment it was as if time froze. It felt as if she had known him all her life. There was something about him, something that changed her completely. He gave her the ability, nay, the gift to love and be loved, and in return she would always be his and only his. She knew he was the one destined by fate. Razor. He stared out the window, wishing that he was free like the birds who soar high in the blue flame sky, free like the wind choosing its own course, and free to blossom into something wonderful and beautiful like flowers do. Because beyond that window was a new horizon where anything could happen. I stood in the doorway, watching the story unfold right before my eyes. The guy was me, but I was outside myself. I was like a ghost, watching a movie that nobody else saw, waiting for something, anything to happen. I was the me that said no, hoping to stop. Tears fell from the boy's eyes. He sat on his bed listening to the shattering of plates and the never-ending yelling of his parents' voices, their endless fighting because their only son liking guys. A thought popped into his head, a feeling he's had before. The boy reached into his nightstand and took out a razor blade. He tugged up the sleeve and brought it close to his arm. He slid it across and felt the familiar sting that comforts him, the sting that felt better than anything else around him, or so he thought. But soon realizing he was a prisoner of pain, a slave cursed into the same routine, what that razor made him feel was a lie that only made things worse. This is not a way to cope. You're only destroying yourself. It's okay to admit that you need help. The boy fights the urge, puts it down, and turns his life around. Deadly kiss. She walked alone down the deserted hall. The lights were flickering into death. That's when she saw him. Dark brown hair and hungry hazel eyes. Stopping in her tracks for a brief moment, he crept closer. Their eyes never left each other's from the first second. Now they were close enough that she could feel his hot, icy breath on her face. Her lips trembled for his, and it seemed as if he wanted her just as bad. He caressed her face, then pulled her close. She tore herself away from him and walked into the empty room. She could tell that he followed her from the sound of the creaky door shutting. She turned to face him, and he closed his hand gently around her neck and pushed her back against the wall. He lowered his face to hers and kissed with fiery passion. She responded to his kiss by offering him her heart. His tender kisses traveled down to her neck, where he lowered his fangs into her soft skin. The next story is called A Dance of Danger. The dark crimson shade glided down his arm. The rich metallic nectar of life taunted me from his open vein. Every instinct inside of me screamed yes, but my heart said no. This was a dance of danger. If I didn't gather my thoughts soon, my love would be hurt so much worse. "Are you okay?" he asked. His voice startled me, snapping me back into reality. I chuckled, pained. "You're the one who's bleeding." I turned away from him. "True, but you look sick or something." "Oh, yeah, I'm not really good around blood." "Yeah," I choked. "Would it help if I told you it's not that bad? It's just a scratch. It looks worse than it is. I'm just a bleeder, see?" I took a deep breath, stupidly drawing in the delicious aroma, his scent into my lungs. Then I faced him. He stepped closer. "I want you," my voice spoke without my consent. Like I was in some sort of a trance, I wrapped my arms around him, kissing him passionately. Such warmth, such tender love. Icy hot fire. Then I felt his energy being drawn into me. I felt high. "No, I can't, not without his consent." I forced myself to pull back. "What's wrong?" he asked, puzzled by my actions. You want the truth? Well, I will tell you, but I know you wouldn't believe me." "And why is that?" "Because I'm not sure you have an open mind. So it's possible that you would think I'm just crazy, and maybe I am, but why would I lie? What's to gain? Nothing. I could just not tell you. However, I'm only telling you because I trust you." "Tell me what?" "First, you have to promise not to tell anyone. It's a secret." He raised an eyebrow. "Of course, I promise." "Okay. Here goes nothing. I'm a vampire. His expression was rather odd, a mixture of confusion, surprise, questioning, and wonder. Are you serious? Yes, I know you must have a lot of questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. But I must know, do you believe me? The look in his eyes told me everything. Yes, I do. And he did. How did you become one, I asked. I didn't, I replied. I was born one. If you're not born one, you can't become one. He held my hand. I don't care what you are, I love you for you, he said. The next one is called Random Short Scenes, 1 of 1. Movie night, laughs. I will give this warning that there is some offensive language. Yo, grab the knife, says my friend to the movie. No, grab the grape soda. What the fuck? You don't drink the shit, it's nasty. Bash it against the killer's head. The can will explode. Soda in his wounds, painful and disorienting. Rip the can apart, stab him. Wouldn't that make the killer want to kill you more? Yep, shit, I was saying if you wanted to die, do it. Why would you want to die? Wow, dumbass, I'm rooting for the killer. That bitch is dead. She's a dumb blonde, always tripping on shit, falling down while she's running. What a fucking stereotype. In that case, wait. Oh no, the bitch left the knife and she's running. Run, bitch, haul ass. I'm telling you, she's gonna trip probably on her own feet, or rock, or air. Yep, I called it. Damn, you're good. What can I say? I watch a lot of horror movies. Next story is called Fire and Ice. Long ago she was created by fire and he by ice. Although they both contain a small part of each other, soulmates, but forbidden to touch because how they will ultimately destroy each other. However, time and fate drive them together as their nature tears them apart. My dear, you have warmed my heart, melted its former loneliness. Alas, you have frozen mine. You painted it with a once gentle frost, then captured it in an icy dark cage. That was not my intention, love. Yes, but we also knew the risks. I long for my kingdom of night, as I'm sure you must miss your realm of the day, and yet together we are complete. We have become prisoners of our passion. It isn't true, but... No buts. It was worth it. At least it was for me. As for you, don't what? Speak the truth? You were the one who played with fire, though somehow, someway, I was the one who got burned. My dear, I am a fool. That we both are. Oh, you are my light, but you are no sun, and I am your dark, but never the moon. And if we ever decide to have a child, it would walk between both our worlds. And if you let me, I can still hold you until the end of our lives. Till the end of our lives. Then, my love, it shall be done. Searching to be reached. Chapter 1. I hear him. He creeps down the hall towards my room, unaware, not knowing that I'm awake. I pretend to be asleep, and then the door opens, allowing a sliver of light to seep into the darkness of my bedroom. I force myself not to make a sound. I sense him moving closer and closer, but I am not afraid. I felt drawn to him. Attracted. Alice, he whispers. I felt his hand hover above my face. Alice, his words spoke louder. I've come for you. Chapter 2. Do you ever feel like a ghost? Like no one would notice if you're not there. You don't talk to anybody and nobody bothers you or notices your existence. It's like you're there physically going through the motions, but mentally you're not. You're just not there. You're somewhere else. It's like you're frozen in a way, not knowing how to feel, or if you feel. Not really sure of anything, only that you exist. Well, it's hard to describe what that feeling is, but it's like you're just here and somehow not. Alice, the teacher Caroline Jules asks, but I don't hear her at first. Alice, she repeats. I look up from my empty drawing. Yes, Miss Jules? I quietly choke. Do you know the answer? I wasn't listening. No, I said, not making eye contact. She shakes her head in disapproval. She moves on to another student. Well, Billy, I'm sure you can tell us about... The bell rang before she could finish her sentence. I knew what she was going to ask, and the answer, not that it mattered. The students filed out the door, rushing to the buses, their cars, and friends lurking by the lockers. I looked down at my notebook and saw that there on the page was a sketch of the face of the guy I knew only in my dreams, though I haven't seen him yet. Somehow, I just knew that this is what he looked like. I put my books in my backpack, and before I went to the door, my teacher said, "A word, Miss Frank O'Sullivan." I blinked, swallowed, and faced her. I have to catch the bus, I said. I won't keep you long, she replied. I didn't say anything, so she continued with, Alice, how is anyone going to hear you if you don't speak? I'm not stupid. There's something going on. I don't know what. I honestly have no clue, no idea. But I can see it in your eyes. There's something wrong. Something you're not saying, isn't there? All I could say was, the buses are leaving. I take the bus. And then I left the building without another word. Chapter 3. The ride home was an incredible bore. It was loud, full of screaming kids. I sat as close to the window as I could, staring out, watching the world go by. When it finally came to my stop, I got off and took my time walking home. It was a cold November day, though luckily we hadn't seen the snow yet. It was already getting dark out at this time, and almost all the leaves were on the ground. The ones that remained were barely hanging on, trying to grasp at living as long as they possibly could, before they die and disappear until they are reborn some other way, regrown. I made my way to my room, sat down at my desk, and began to write, soon finding myself tired. Chapter 4. His face was completely covered by shadows. Who are you? I asked. I was on one side of a long hall, and he stood at the other end. Soon he said. It was all he said, like he didn't even hear me. The atmosphere was becoming hazy and slow, growing fainter. I wonder what he meant. Soon he repeated, Alice, turn that clock off and get your ass up, my mother yelled. I wiped my tired eyes and reached over to turn my alarm clock off. I must have somehow fallen asleep at my desk. I got up and brushed my teeth after taking my vitamins. I threw on a clean pair of black skinny jeans, a crimson tank top with black splatters, my black leather jacket, and my lace-up knee-high black combat boots with silver spikes decorated on the toe. I rushed to do my makeup, my usual selection of blacks, gray, and white that complemented my blue eyes. I brushed my long red hair into a low side ponytail, then put on my glasses after cleaning them. I found my black fingerless gloves and put them on my pale hands, poking my fingers with black painted nails through. I cleaned my nose ring and earrings. Standing in the mirror, I coated my lips with black lipstick. Then I took my black spiked choker out of my jewelry box and closed the snap behind my neck. Lastly, I grabbed my bag and headed out the door. I noticed something strange in the air. I couldn't quite describe it or place it, and I couldn't exactly tell what it was, but walking through the halls felt different. Then I saw him. There was a new student standing by my locker. The locker next to mine was open. As I walked to my locker, he turned around and smiled warmly when he saw me standing there. He had hazel eyes with a slightly red tint, mocha-kissed skin, and hair so dark that it was almost black. Hello, I'm Alice, I managed. I open my locker and reach in for a textbook. I have it in my hand when he says, Alice. I drop the book, and with a loud bang, it reaches the ground with a silencing smack. His voice was the voice inside my dreams. The shock hit me in a deep way. My breath was completely gone for a brief moment, and then back in a split second. I tried to keep a straight face as I slowly looked up and met his eyes. Do I know you? I asked. He reached down to pick up my book. He replied, It's funny, I was going to ask you the same thing. He put the book in my locker. This may sound strange, but I think I met you in a dream once. I looked at him and asked, Is your name Andrew Valentine? Yes, he replied. How did you know? I had the same dreams, I answered. Then you must be my dear Alice Frank O'Sullivan, he said. Forever and always, I repeat with a smile. Yes, at last we meet face to face. I told you I would come for you, he said. When the Wolves Descend. Chapter 1. The Lost Girl. Who are you? Why have you come? This is private land, the man asked with gleaming eyes wide open. His ancient black eyes stared her down. His black eyes were a trait that marked his clan, though they looked different on him. For a brief moment the girl stood there speechless and then replied, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I was lost. I'm camping here, well, somewhere around here at a place called Willow's Grove, the cabin. Do you know of it by any chance? His eyes flashed with boredom. Of course, I know the way like it's the back of my hand. I lived here all my life. She seemed to await his response, possibly an offer. Well, can you point out the direction? He silently sighed, annoyed with the human girl. Go north a few miles, Goldilocks, he said, changing the pitch in his voice. Excuse me, she said. His eyes narrowed when he heard the snap of a branch. What? She asked. He growled a deep growl. She snorted a laugh. He heard a shot that ripped through the trees, catching him off guard. She whipped out a small handgun and shot him through the chest. His pupils dilated as far as possible as he sank to his knees, coughing up blood. You, he choked. I don't believe I heard you were coming. hunting us. They said, too bad for you that you didn't really listen, pup. She grinned viciously. Jessica Selenia Gordon. You'll never find her. Oh, really? She scoffed. Peter, hold him up. Another man appeared from the wood, putting his gun away. He was a strong man for his young age. Peter lifted the black-eyed man up off the ground. The man groaned with pain. Now, you can do this easy way or the hard way. The man spit at her. The hard way it is. She reached into her bag and pulled out a different gun. These bullets are special, she said, holding it up. Silver, the man said. Sure. She curled her lip, amused. Jessica shot his hand. He screamed, no, rather howled in pain. Not so big and bad now, Wolfie, huh? Peter taunted. The man's breathing was now short and fast. Peter threw him back down. Through his teeth he said, Why do you want her? She's not even... But she's not exactly human, is she now? No. She's not evil. Yes, but she could be a potential danger after all. She's just barely even discovered who she really is. She doesn't know. Yes. But she was born of humans, and that makes her rare and unpredictable now, doesn't it? There are plenty of others like her, and you know it. Just leave her be. She crouched down to his level. I don't think so, and you sure as hell will not stop me in your position. Now, what's her name? You don't know, he laughed. Boiling, she answered. She popped up on our radar years ago when she was born, but she's very careful. Even so, not nearly as good as we are. Or so you think. Rage crept up inside of her. She put the gun to his head. Tell me everything you know about her, she yelled. He laughed. Well, Jess, sorry to tell you this, but nobody knows anything about her. Nobody has even heard of her. I sure haven't, and we both know that you're going to kill me anyway. I just like the mind games. By the way, here's a tip. You really should protect your mind better. Some things still slip through, enough for me to catch on to. She looked astonished. He continued, Yes, I am a mind reader, though not as good since the metal fucking tracking plate was installed. You're more than enough trouble. We simply must keep track of your kinds. And now I think it's time to put you down, dog. My pack will know. They'll come for you. My uncle will have your head. Oh, I'm sure you royal nuts. In fact, I'm counting on it. One less animal to worry about. Oh, surely you must mean yourselves. You and your twin brother here are both very foolish. You have no idea about the things you are dealing with. Jessica rolled her eyes. Strong words from the mouth of the trapped. You do understand that I hold your worthless life at gunpoint? Yes, I'm aware, but are you? Me? Aware of what? How stupid you both are. What? Peter roared. I'm no wolf, otherwise I would be dead by now. We all know that. Realization swept over her and Peter. You're not nearly as clever as you both assumed, humans. You just can't live with them. The man stood up with much ease. He was completely unharmed. The bullets had become dust when they hit him. Jessica and Peter stood frozen with shock. I have, well, now had a dog, you know. So the smell is sort of there, though. With your human noses, you can't really pick up the difference. What are you then? Peter asked. His fang-like teeth slid down and his glamour fell, shattering right before their very eyes. I'm an adaptive elemental shapeshifter wielder. He still had the same basic first appearance, though his features were more striking, sharp, chiseled and pale, all except his dark hair and eyes. His scent was now woodsier and smoky. A fey-like trickster, she whispered. Not a bad actor, though, Peter whispered back. She glared at him to be silent. Now, this girl you speak of. Whoever she is, I'll find her. She will be my own. I will claim her, for I'm intrigued by your interest. Surely must be something, especially to end up on your radar. Peter and Jessica started to move, but the ground swallowed their feet. What are you going to do with us? Jessica asked. Well, my little lambs, it seems you have arrived for the slaughter, and I simply can't have you poking your noses around, especially when you'll just be in my way, so goodbye. With a snap of his fingers, the tree vines came to life and tore them both into pieces as they tightly sliced through their fragile bodies. Blood quickly rained down for a second. He yawned out of boredom. Then the black-eyed man made himself invisible like nothing happened, and he disappeared. Chapter 2. The Power of Eyes. Cascara Castor woke up exactly 1 minute before the alarm clock went off. I opened my eyes right away with a quick snap. His dark eyes were still inside my mind, haunting. I dreamed of black eyes last night, and that they belonged to an intense yet intoxicating person. The color of black alone could symbolize confusion, discord, evil, loss, or wisdom, resurrection, or eternal life. Sometimes my dreams would become the future. But just seeing eyes, I wasn't sure how it meant anything, though it means something, but what? I felt like something was watching me last night. I felt a strange presence in my room, but I shook it off. I got up and went over by the window, unlocked it, and opened it a crack. I left my room, closing the door behind me. I felt my way around until I arrived at my destination. I entered the powder room and stood in front of the mirror. I opened the medicine cabinet and took out my contact lenses. I followed the usual cleaning routine and put them in. Then I tilted my head up and saw how the lenses dulled my powerful, bright blue eyes. I sighed and returned to my room. "Morning, Mage," I said as I opened my door. "Afternoon. How did you know that I'd use the window this time?" I looked her in the eyes and replied, "Aren't you tired of asking me that?" Rolling her eyes, she plopped herself down on my black beanbag chair and said, "Yeah, I know, you're psychic. Megui Lelich is my best friend, and I guess you could say my student. We were both the same age of 16 and had similar sleek black hair, mine long, hers short like a boyish. She has emerald eyes and coffee-colored skin with rosy cheeks. My skin was like pale milk mixed with fresh frost. She was a tomboy but girly, whereas I was dark. Love the new rug. It adds a little something to this depressing black hole and cave." She gestured to my dark maroon carpet. I ignored her remark. "Yes, I was repainting my windows black yesterday, as you can tell, and my cat knocked it all over the gray one. It reminds me of blood," Mage said without thinking. Yeah, I swallowed. "Mage, you can keep the window open if you want." I know. You're staying in the dark corner because of your sensitive skin. It's not my first day, you know." I sat at my desk and turned the chair to face her. "Okay, let's start with a little quiz. I've officially been Wiccan for the past 3 years, and lately she's been interested in learning about it. Like me, she has a really open mind, and of now she's still an atheist, though she glances through all other religions to have a better understanding of things. Alright, first, here." She reached into her pocket and handed me something. It was a new silver nose ring and a gold L-shaped stud with a dark blue stone. I took a deep breath. "Mage, thank you, but..." "Shut up. It's not wrapped, so it doesn't even count as your birthday gift. So don't even try to break my freaking head off. I like to buy it, just not her." "Fine. Okay. Don't worry, they're clean." I took my black nose ring out and put the silver one in. "Nicely," I replied. "Thank you. I actually need some new ones." "You're welcome," she smiled. "So about the quiz?" "Let's begin," I said flatly. "Okay. 1. What is the definition of a ride, as in the Wiccan ride?" "The basic tenet of witchcraft, and it harm none, do what thou will." "Correct. A boline is used to. The white-handled knife is used to cut herbs and inscribe symbols." "Correct." Then my bedroom door suddenly flew open and slammed shut. Chapter 3. Webs. I saw her. Her beautiful eyes during my slumber. Dreaming of her seemed like the best rest of my life. That was 2 days ago. I was getting closer to finding her. I knew exactly where she was. I found her actual location using the astral plane, tracking her down. Well, tracking in general was a gift of mine, but I had to wait. I couldn't just snatch her away in the day, and besides, there was someone there with her. I realized that when she opened the window. Last night I crept into her room and watched over her as she slept, and now I know she saw me too. Instantly I knew what she was because of her aura. Her personal energy field. She's special, but others do exist like her. And her name, unique like her, but what would she call me? I have no name. I fled her room a little while after her. What's the word? Friend showed up. Cascara Castor, named after 2 herbs. Saying her name, speaking it out loud, tasted sweet on my lips. She's the only protection I need. I would wait for her until she goes to sleep. Then I will come for her. A perfect match. I will claim her as mine. Chapter 4, entitled For a Reason. That was strange, commented Mage. I agree, I said, but you know how things sometimes move by themselves around here. True, but not like that, not by that magnitude, she replied. She looked at my bat-shaped clock that hung over the fireplace. Shit, it's that time already, fuck, I'll see you tomorrow, I have to get my ass to practice. Bye, Cass. It was 3 in the afternoon. Basketball, I think? I'm not completely sure with all the sports she does. In the perkiest, girliest voice I could make, I mocked, but your outfit so totally doesn't go together. Like, really. And you don't want to break a nail, do you? In my normal voice, I said, I'm disgusted with myself. I kind of want to punch myself in the face right now. Well, that's pretty spot on, so I can see why. In what almost seemed like my voice, she said, I'll close the window when I leave. It's too bright outside. I wish it was dark like the soulless emptiness inside of me. Fuck off, I joked. Love you too, sis. Bye. Bye. Then she climbed out the window and headed for her school. Chapter 5. The Night Visitor. I was still tired and fell asleep shortly after Mage left, but I was awoken by a presence in the room. I looked around and saw nothing. It was pitch black in my room and around 9 at night. But I was sure. I knew something was there. Don't be frightened, Cascara. I mean you no harm. Who are you? Show yourself, I asked, raising my voice slightly. As you wish, a voice said. I reached over to my nightstand and turned the lamp on. A small dim light pierced the darkness, illuminating it with the amber glow. And at the foot of my bed a man appeared. Chapter 6. Spiders. He was tall and pale with dark hair, and those eyes, his black eyes matched. They were exactly like the ones that were in my dream. I slowly blinked. I tried to speak. I think I know you, I said. My words don't make sense, but somehow they did. Somehow they seemed fitting. He allowed himself a simple grin. Whoever he was, I admit, he was beautiful. He wore a black motorcycle jacket with no shirt underneath it, revealing his muscular body. He rocked a pair of black acid-washed skinny jeans with several zippers that were just for design. No purpose, really. On his feet were solid black, steel-toed military boots. I admit, I kind of wanted his outfit. He said my first name slowly, speaking it like a captivating song. Then he stepped closer. I snapped out of it and jumped out of my bed. Okay, back the fuck up. Who are you and why are you here? He didn't speak. He just looked at me, drinking my image into his mind. I continued, get out or I will throw you out. He looked around for a second and then said, you can call me Hunter. And now you are mine. Excuse me, I sneered. Yes, I have found you, see. People, if you can call them that, were after you. They knew what you are, but I stopped them for now, Hunter said. What do you mean? What exactly do you think I am, I asked. He stepped closer and I backed up into the wall. You're a vampire, he said. More exactly, a psychic vampire, not to mention the other obvious thing. This time I didn't say a single thing. Don't deny it. It's pointless. How do you know? I stuttered in a voice like a whisper. It's one of my many gifts, my dear, he replied. His breath hit my face, sending shivers running up and down my spine. What do you want with me? I want you as mine, and I will be your protector. Why? You're a special race, like me. Us outcasts need to stick together, be with others like us. They will never truly understand us, the humans, as I'm sure you are aware of. We must never let them shame us and chase us into hiding. I nodded in agreement and took out my contacts so that my true eyes were no longer disguised. His eyes grew a shade lighter, almost as if glowing. I've searched for others like myself, and it led me to you, he said, as he brought his hand up to caress my face. I resisted at first, putting my hand over his, about to sink my long, sharp nails into his flesh. But I hesitated, and then I gave in and chose to lace my fingers instead. I realize now that all along my eyes never left his, a foolish mistake, because I was now his. I now belonged to his ancient heart, because I fell into his trap at the beginning, and when his eyes tracked me down, I let him in. I allowed him to see me. I let him find me. He was a natural manipulator, looking for an equal power to match, to possess. I was like a fly in his web. However, as he said earlier, he will never harm me. But he'll be my willing victim, for this union will make me a spider too.